Hello and welcome. My name is Chad Miles. I have the privilege of serving at MassMutual Great Lakes as the firm's storyteller and digital marketing strategist. Today I'm joined by Manuel Amezcua, firm president and CEO. And Manny, the inspiration for this conversation came from recent discussions that you and I have had, in particular around how people are experiencing a lot of unique and challenging things at this time. When we look at what we're facing as a nation and around the world. In some of the conversations that you have had recently with people, especially as it relates to career challenges that they're facing, talk to me a little bit about those conversations that you've had recently.
Yeah, so, as I mentioned to you before we got on this call today, there has been a recent uptick, I think, of people just reaching out, not just to check in on how we are as individuals, but to also check in on how our business is maybe doing compared to theirs, how our sales folks are doing, compared to maybe other industries. And I think it's super thoughtful. I'm just noticing that everybody's a little bit more connected to each other, really checking in on good friendships and relationships. And so that's been really neat to see. But I think in general, my personal impression is that in any time of uncertainty, it seems pretty natural for people to gravitate to people who maybe bring them some level of calmness and peace of mind, but also a level of curiosity tends to appear where people are just kind of curious, like, hey, am I the only one going through this? Am I the only one feeling this way? Am I the only one concerned about maybe what the new normal will be when we come out the other end of what we're currently in right now with the COVID pandemic? So a lot of good folks just in general reaching out, checking in, I think genuinely being very thoughtful, but also maybe taking a second to say, hey, is this where I'm supposed to be at this point in my life? Based on where my feet are today, is this where I'm supposed to be? And if not, I'm finding that I think the extra time that people tend to have is they're really beginning to ask themselves, if this isn't where I'm supposed to be, how do I have the right conversations with the right people to begin to build my strategy for the next chapter of my life?
I think one of the things that's been unique for us as it relates to this time is that as I've had conversations with many friends who are in different industries, maybe their core business is being greatly impacted or totally shifted away from what they were doing before the pandemic to what they're doing now. In many ways, our core business has not been affected. What are some of the things that have allowed us as a business to be able to transition more effectively during this time?
Yeah, that's a great question because I have noticed that it's really only like one of two realities right now. Either companies are kind of fumbling the ball down the entire field of play, not having probably been as prepared as they could have been for something as unpredictable as this. I mean, can you even say that, right? How do you prepare for something this unpredictable? But then other companies, I think, who have really just unbelievable continuity and productivity plans for their teams and their organizations. I feel super blessed to be a part of MassMutual. One, we're considered an essential business. And many folks who know me and know my story, they've heard me talk about the 5 F's that seem to be the sort of epicenter of someone's life. And it's their relationship with their faith, their gratitude for living in this free country, their commitment and love to their family, the level of physical fitness and the level of ferocious competitor they've been in their life. And then the 5th one, which is really their level of financial preparedness for life, financial security, stability, and success. And as many folks know, that 5th one, and that's where we get such great nobility, and it's such a privilege to be in the business we're in, of being in the financial security, stability, and success business on behalf of our clients. That business is considered an essential business. So one, we're still running our business every single day. And I think it's important that the marketplace knows that. I think it's important that the marketplace hears MassMutual Great Lakes is open for business every day of the week. We're here to serve the market in great times and in tough times. And we're definitely open for business right now. Number two, though, MassMutual, our corporate office has for years really been a technology leader in the industry. And so I think that specifically, Chad, it allowed our infrastructure team, our operations team, our compliance and supervision team, our business processing team, and our few hundred advisors and strategic broker partnerships. It's allowed us to continue to operate in a virtual kind of work from home or work from a detached location and model and reality rather effortlessly. The technology suite that MassMutual provides everyone that's employed in some relationship with MassMutual is very industry leading, very simple to use, and it's just been a blessing for us during these trying times to be able to provide that to our team.
One of the things that I think my unique position has allowed me to do is spend time talking with many of our financial advisors and to learn more about their stories, and in particular to learn more about how they came to be in this career. And from what I've learned, a lot of times it wasn't necessarily their plan to start a career in financial services. Talk to me a little bit about not only your unique story of how you came into this career, but also what are the things, the qualities that make someone successful in a career in financial services?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so definitely two parts to that. One, as everyone who knows me or has heard you and I have a conversation or in other content that we've put out there, they're aware of my story. I fell into this career through the just unbelievable gesture of my dear friend and mentor and business partner, Joe Gergley. Just the perfect guy to bring me into this business. He led not just through his words, but through his actions. And so he was definitely one of the people that I think have emulated servant leadership and probably tough love a little bit better than anyone else I know. And so I think in coming into the business with Joe Gergley back in 2003, that was the right way for me to enter what's a pretty tough business. It's a pretty tough business. As you and I have spoken, there's just a lot of rejection for a lot of different reasons in our industry in general. And sometimes that's really confusing because selling is simply a conversation where we provide value. So I think sometimes we tend to overcomplicate it. But I think Joe was one of the best people at teaching me the simplicity of how we can provide value to other people. And so that quickly led, I don't know if I would have called that success as we begin to pivot to some of the things we look for in our advisor and agent candidates. But it definitely led me to having enough activity and more wins than losses. And eventually in having a few more wins than losses year over year, that created some stickiness and some sticking power to the career. And by about my late 20s, I really knew that this wasn't just a position or an occupation or a career. We had become my calling. And so for us, we look back at, hey, what did we learn from our own experience? What do we know from great industry organizations that teach us about the value proposition of the career and the industry itself? And so we're really looking for folks that have a few specific characteristics. I would say the biggest non-negotiable one is that the individual has to be relationship minded. This has to be an individual who says, hey, relationships are very important to me. I want to be in a career where it doesn't matter if I'm likable. It doesn't matter if I'm able to provide value to other people. And so I think relationship minded individuals, they just seem to be able to consistently get in front of people to share their story and attempt to provide value. I'd say outside of being a relationship-minded person, I think we really need folks that are confident and want to take control of their future. There's so many different ways to find success in our business. And there's so many different verticals that you could serve with good and simple systems for creating financial security, stability, and success. It's really important that we find people who are confident and want to take control of their future success. I think another one that I would mention is that it does take a lot of optimism and grit. And as you know, I've said many times, I think some of grit comes from having a high level of optimism that if I just keep pushing, if I just keep going down this path and keep doing what I know will work, eventually it will work and things will get better. And I'd say the one that is most overlooked by most people is finding people that are just real dreamers with a huge vision. I still think back to my childhood as a little boy growing up at 4340 Torrance in Hammond, Indiana. I sat there and thought I wanted to be Batman, middle linebacker for the Chicago Bears, or a successful CEO and businessman. And while I failed miserably at the first two, the jury's still out on this one. And I'm just so thankful for having had the opportunity to come into this career by the introduction of Joe Gergely, who actually, I met Joe Gergely by the introduction of my kid. And so that's just a simple reinforcer that this business is a referral business. And most great successes come from the favorable and thoughtful introduction of another person that you really care about and respect. And I'm an example of that.
I think as we wrap up here, this opportunity, well, this time that we're facing, on one hand, creates a lot of unique challenges for people, especially as it relates to the careers. On the other hand, you could look at this as an opportunity. Talk to me a little bit about the opportunity that could be viewed during this time, especially from a career standpoint, and why someone might consider what a career in financial services might look like.
Well, first and foremost, MassMutual Great Lakes is open for business, and MassMutual Great Lakes is not sending anyone home. There's no furloughs, there's no layoffs, there's no downsizing. We're an essential business, and MassMutual Great Lakes is open for business, number one. Number two, the secret to success in this career path just comes down to having a huge vision, executing on simple systems to build relationships, to follow a thoughtful process where you provide value to another person, and to honor your commitments. And so the secret to success being built on such simple systems that anyone who's ever had a career in sales in any industry has an opportunity to live an unbelievable life by their design because of the gift of this career. I just think that's a really special story. And while we hear so many stories of so many wonderful organizations being hit really hard at this time, I just can't tell you how proud I am to just say, hey, we're open for business. And if you're somebody that matches some of those basic characteristics and you absolutely want to take control of your life so that you don't find yourself here every 10 to 15 years when our market seems to struggle with something significant that impacts industries and our community at large, I just think this is an unbelievable career path. And we're working really hard. And I know our company's not the only one. Let me say that. I know we are not the only great company in this space, but we're one of the many companies who's working really hard to tell our story and to see, to challenge ourselves to put together the best team to serve our communities that we live in and that we want to raise our families in. And so we're really proud of being open for business right now. And I'd encourage anybody who's really thinking about where their feet are right now and if they're going down the right path to consider reaching out to us to have a quick, thoughtful conversation.
Absolutely. And that was our hope behind this discussion, is that it could start conversations. You can find our company profile, MassMutual Great Lakes, on LinkedIn. You can find Manuel Amezcua on LinkedIn as well, or you can connect with me, Chad Miles. Also, our firm talent coordinator, Jason Sweet, would be another option for you to connect with and just start a conversation. Feel free to reach out to us if we can be a resource to you at any way during this time. We look forward to hearing from you soon.
Thanks, Chad.